Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are we all doing? Oh, the stream. I just muted you, YouTube. You should not be making noise at me, but I think I opened the tab before I muted it, so it didn't count. Okay, sorry I'm a few moments late. You are stuck with just me, yours truly today. Rich and Ronnie are busy doing other things, but I'm here to answer all your questions about top 3 study mistakes. And so I'm going to open this as an open question to you as any student out there. What are some studying or revision mistakes that you have made, whether that was at GCSE or your AS exams or for mocks or any previous experience of learning or studying for something, when you got to the end of it and realized actually that strategy wasn't time well spent? There were other things that I could have done that would have been better value for money in terms of time spent for marks gained. Okay, so I've got the chat. I'm actually going to pull the chat a little bit underneath here so I can view it a bit more easily. And I also want to, how do I view comments and reactions is the one thing I'm just looking for in here. Scene, source, camera, mic. Oh yeah, I think. Recording output options. I definitely thought I knew where this was. Hide all seen areas, show all seen areas. Oh, it's here. There's a little shortcut, little handy shortcut. Okay, and it's not letting me do it anyway, so I'm just going to go with the YouTube chat instead. Okay, who have we got? Flicking through and rewriting your notes. 100% rewrite. I'm going to come over some of these. I'm going to basically give you a bit of an update on my take, but that's rewriting notes is a massive one. Topic revision instead of paper revision, absolutely. Predicting what I'm going to say here, everyone. Cramming the night before, quite often, it can work, but I'm going to tell you, 9 times out of 10, staying up all night revising before the exam does not do you any favours. If anyone's done a past paper when they've been like tired, then you can see how many foolish mistakes you make and you drop a bunch of marks that you don't really expect you're going to drop because you're tired and you're not really as focused or paying attention as you could be. Okay, so I'm going to give you my rundown and we're going to see that some of you have given a lot of those answers already. Okay, so number 1, I'm going to say not starting past papers early enough. People in general don't want to try a past paper until you're quote unquote ready, or that you've finished the content. So if your target grade is an A, you don't want to start using past papers until you're going to get an A. Well, this is a major mistake. Yeah, I understand it. It's very logical. However, if you don't start past papers early enough, you're missing out on the opportunity of learning all of those exam technique marks. This is very much the same as revising paper by paper and not revising topic by topic. So jump in early to your past papers. It's okay to start a past paper if your target grading is an A and your first attempt you get a D. That is okay. You should treat past papers, it's like the stabilizers when you're learning to ride a bike. You, of course, you are going to need to improve your technique and your skills and your content knowledge to get to where you want to go. But you're never going to jump into a past paper and be perfect, be at your target grade. Jump in, basically depends. Year 12 right now, you can't really do a full AS paper yet because you've done maybe half a third of the first year. So at this point, if you're a year 12 student, you can do past paper questions. So instead of just doing the exercises in the textbook, which are going to be simplified versions, you can find some topic-based question packs and you can use topic-based question packs until, I would say, probably February half term. And then year 12 students from February half term, okay, there's a few things that you might not have covered yet, but then you can tackle some AS papers. What I would suggest, if that's your case, you're year 12, it's February half term, you've done 3/4 of the first year at this point, just open the paper, scan through it. If you see a question, that's on a topic that you haven't done yet, just cross out question 4. Don't need to do that one. It's on biodiversity. It's the last thing we're going to study in the year. I haven't done it yet. So now, instead of the paper being 10 questions, your paper is now 9 questions. So you can still use the paper and just take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, I haven't done that. It's okay that I haven't achieved full marks on those questions because there's little bits in there I've not done. But what TT, we really want to train you to use past papers, and the more comfortable you get with past papers and the format, the styling, the timing, the concentration span, the sooner you can get into that groove, quite simply, the more past papers you do, the better your end result will be. If you plotted that as a correlation, then you would see Spearman's rank correlation coefficient, you would see a positive correlation between number of past papers completed versus end grade. So basically, the good time to start is now. If you're year 13, you can begin absolutely right now using the AS papers. They're only going to test you on things that you have already done. And again, just crank out TT revision method on some AS papers starting right now. Just do one a month. One a month. I mean, it's quite a lot of work to do a TT revision method cycle. It's probably going to take 10 hours maybe. So one a month is probably realistic until we get closer to the exams. And then again, February half term, after Christmas, February half term, you can look at some full A-level papers. Scan through it for 5 minutes. If it's gene technology, it's a topic you've not covered yet, just cross out that question. Your 12-mark question becomes an your 12-question paper becomes an 11-question paper, and so on and so forth. So that is, start them early. It's okay to do badly. It's a training. You're using it for training purposes, and you don't have to be perfect on the first go. If you wait, okay, what's the consequence of waiting until you're ready? Then you probably won't ever feel ready, to be perfectly honest with you. You're never going to be at the point where you're like comfortably getting your target grade without ever practicing. Obviously that, it sounds totally logical, but from you as the student's perspective, you don't want to start until you're ready. But then if you wait till you're ready, then it's too late. So start now. Either topic-based questions, but as soon as you possibly can, transition to actual papers, because topic-based revision is not the most effective way. Okay, that's number 1. Start past papers too late. That's the mistake. Number 2, constantly making notes, which kind of ties into that. So as someone who had that, Toby, flicking through and rewriting my notes, just endless repetition of notes. Writing notes serves a purpose for learning. There's 2 phases to the A-levels. There's the learning phase where you're covering information, exposing yourself to it for the first time. You're creating a map or a territory of places to put the information in your brain. And then there's the revision, recapping, and like that is all about pulling information out of your brain. Like you do the learning bit, you're putting the information in, you wait a little bit of time just until you're on the brink of forgetting it, and then you try and pull it out again. And if you can successfully pull it out again, then that sort of is a bit like flossing. It goes in here, comes out here. If you can do that, then you are on a very strong progress to making that very memorable. So that is a massive part, and that's all part of the TT revision method, that spaced repetition. So just rewriting your notes is basically no good to you at all. If you come to revise a topic and it's like, I missed that at school, I just photocopied my friend's notes, or you totally, you had stuff going on at home and you just really weren't that present and you just don't know it, then go back and create your notes. You can do that, but rewriting and re-highlighting and doing stuff like that, it's of basically zero value. It feels good. The reason why students do this is because it feels like you've got control. You've got a clear start point, you've got a clear end point. It gives you a logical, methodical thing you can work through, and it feels good to do it. Just because it feels good doesn't necessarily mean it is the right way to go. In terms of effectiveness, it's better to push you outside of your comfort zone and expose yourself to those past paper questions that you don't necessarily know the answers to, but that's okay. It's a bit like being in a gym. If you're constantly just doing loads of reps with like a 1 kilogram weight, look how many reps I can do. I can do 100 reps. Feels great. Must be getting buff. But those weights that are just a bit too much, well, not maybe too much, but just hard work, they're the ones that are actually making the biggest gains. It is a good analogy if you think about gym work, basically. Okay, so that's number 2. Can you remind me of number 1? Mistake number 1. I'm going to just make sure that everyone's on the top of this. Revision is like flossing. Yeah, I wish I could do the floss. Fortunately, I'm sitting down. I'm a terrible flosser, so I'm not going to try and crack that out on video right now. Maybe at the end of the year. Okay, not starting past papers early enough. You nailed it, Jasmina and Toby. Leaving past papers too late. HKM, you got it. Okay, second mistake. Kind of it's almost the same. It's generally what you're doing when you're not doing those past papers is that you are constantly rewriting notes or revising content, just like content. My subject is A-level biology, so when I ask students, how many revision sessions have you done on the math skills? None. How many revision sessions have you done on the stat skills? Often none. How many revision sessions have you done on the apparatus and techniques? Often none, because you've just been doing the content. And for you, your mindset is the content is the things in the book, in the chapters of the book. And that is why you don't revise topic by topic, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in the exams which are not topics as you would define them as. Okay, third, and not necessarily finally, but the top 3 is setting a fixed revision timetable. Now, for you guys right now at this time of the year, you're probably not working from a revision timetable, but when you get close to exams, like the Hermione Grangers out there will have their sort of Monday, 10 a.m. doing this, Tuesday, 10 a.m. doing that. Does anyone know what the issue? Can anyone predict some problem? Who's done that, first of all? I have done this. And if you've done it, did you find it successful or not, is my open question to you, first of all. I have totally done it, 100%. I'm on board with it. Did it work very well for you? And if not, why not? I'm going to tell you why it didn't work for me. It was because basically by the end of day 1, certainly by the end of week 1, I was behind. Shit always takes longer than you think. When we create our plans, we have these aspirations that we're going to sit down, we're going to do this work, we're going to follow this schedule, we're going to do exactly as we planned. Tell you what, your mate phones you up. You get an invite to go and do something, although lockdown is going to probably put an end to that one. You will get behind with your plan. Not many plans do you finish early. And as a result, I'm looking at this timetable, 20 different things that I've set myself. I've done 10 of them by the end of the week. Now I feel behind, that I'm scrabbling to catch up. You set this schedule for yourself. So instead of defining in this time zone, I am going to do this thing, instead, it's way more effective to have blocks of time when you're going to be working. As well, it's also really important to block off times when you're not going to be working. And during those work hours, so maybe you can just put your subject in there, biology. And then when you come to do your biology work, you have a list of action hours that you can prioritize. What am I going to do when I study biology? So you're not putting a specific event in a specific time slot. You can divide up your time slot so it's equally distributed amongst your subjects, or maybe, in fact, you don't want it equal. Maybe you've got more work to do in chemistry to get the A than you do in biology, in which case you can give chemistry 20% more time, maybe. So think about that when you're scheduling up your division between subjects. And then for each subject, you need an action hour list, a list of things that you need to achieve or can achieve. And sometimes when you sit down to study, you might have scheduled really intense past paper type stuff, and your brain is just I'm not there right now. So you can go to your action hour list. The benefit of just having a list of things that you can do for that subject is you can pick the one that you're kind of in the mood for, or the kind of that's fitting where you're at right then and there. And then you can just work your way through the list. This basically prevents you ever feeling like you've got a rigid structure and therefore you're behind, and you're putting pressure and stress upon yourself that you don't need. Yeah, see, I'm already behind, and it's the first day of revision week. So, Jasmine, I'd try that for a suggestion. Block off realistic bits of time. If you're working in action hours, then that's a really good productivity hack. So, to be honest, if you're not at school or college, which I don't think anyone is, well, some of you may be, most schools are actually open, aren't they? You can, if you're not at school or college, try setting yourself, 6 is a lot. 6 45-minute blocks, 2 per subject, that's a lot to do in a day. Maybe start with 4 action hours or 5 action hours as your target. See if you can complete that. Also, if you have a very clear list of 4 action hours, that's my target for the day. Once you achieve it, you get a little dopamine release, you feel good about yourself. It's better actually to set yourself less strict targets that you achieve, because it rewards you and it makes you want to go sit down and study again. If your targets are too hard and you're constantly feeling behind, like you're failing or like you're not achieving your potential, then it's a negative reinforcement. You don't want to go and do the next study session because you're associated with that negative feeling. So it's much better to set very realistic goals, and sometimes maybe set yourself 4 as a minimum, 6 as a stretch target. Then if you do your 6, then boom, you're done. But your baseline should be achievable so that you're not lagging behind. Okay. You'll probably not stick to it. Yeah, if as soon as you try and put specific tasks and specific points in the diary, it's just a recipe for failure, essentially, or failure in inverted commas, failure to stick to the schedule, which maybe wasn't a good idea in the first place. Okay. Any other tips that you would have, or revision mistakes that you have made? I think a great one is revising topic by topic and not revising paper by paper. Paper by paper, when we're looking at the exam, is 100% the best way to go. Again, I'm going to open up questions. What are the benefits of revising paper by paper rather than topic by topic? I've sort of alluded to some of these already throughout there. Yeah, okay, Megan, that's a great one. So in startup business world, they say fail fast. Like if you're going to fail fast, because don't keep flogging a dead horse. Yeah, don't if something's not working, change it up. Okay, so Serena, kind of depends. What is your test on? If you've got a topic-based test, sure, you can revise for the topic. But if you've actually got the exam, I'm talking about preparing for the A-level exams, or for that matter, the AS exams. Because, okay, so revising paper by paper means you get all the topics covered. You get in the exam hall feeling like you've done more practice, yeah? You get to see how you're doing, not just, because topic-based questions are focused on a specific topic, that's the point. But as a result, they don't have all those application questions that link to other questions, the other parts of the course, which are the difficult ones. So if you only practice topic-based questions, you might know every topic perfectly, but then you might not know how to connect topic A to topic B, and how topic B connects to topic C. You can get an overview of what work you need to work on. Absolutely, it shows you your weaknesses. And also, another thing that no one's brought up yet is if you're revising paper by paper, the topics that come up most often are the ones that you practice most often. You might be revising a topic. If you revise topic by topic, you might spend a whole bunch of your time revising topics which actually don't come up on the papers very often. As a student, there's basically no way for you to know that. You need the experience of having done hundreds of papers before you know, oh, this topic is on every paper, or at least every other paper. This paper comes up 1 year in 7. Now, if you're a student, you've got no way of knowing that. If you're revising this topic and spending a day revising this topic that comes up 1 in every 7 years, then really you should be revising the thing that comes up every other year or every year. And so by revising paper by paper, that's automatically built in. The more papers you do, the more of the common topics you do. It just goes without saying. Plus all of those fringe skills that you don't consider to be a topic that the exam boards will ask questions on, whether that's in biology, that'd be the math skills, the apparatus and techniques. It might be the how science works stuff. So why do you have a large sample size? It's stuff like that, which there's no sort of page in the textbook that's going to tell you that. Obviously, in the TT course, there is a bit that covers that. But yeah, so those application questions, everything that's not a simple factual recall question, which are basically all the questions in the textbook, all those topic-based questions are simplified versions of the real exam questions. And if you're preparing for the real exam, there is no better training than the exam itself. Is it better to do several short blocks of time than a few long blocks of time? Toby, I'd say in general, yes. We are massive advocates of the action hour, so let me just run you through that. Action hour is you have a specific task that you want to achieve. It must be an active task. It can't be reread the textbook, basically. It needs to be, I am going to, and you need to write down your statement of what you're going to do. Set yourself your particular challenge for a 45-minute window. Set a timer. Put all your other distractions away, and you do that one and only task for 45 minutes. When the timer goes off, you finish and you take a 15-minute break to give you the hour. So that is going to be really good for deep focus, for achieving a lot of work in a short space of time. The more focused your brain is, the more able to retain that information, basically. If it has 100% of your focus, then you will remember it better than if you've got distractions going on. So that's why that deep focus state is really important. However, as you get towards exam time, if it's going to be you're practicing to do the papers, obviously the papers are probably going to be roughly 2 hours. So if you've only practiced concentrating in 45-minute blocks, you might get fatigued by the 2-hour mark. So as you get close to the exams, I'd highly recommend doing past papers full timed conditions. Because again, doing a past paper, no time limit, music on in the background, sort of chatting to your friends, that's not true past paper simulation. You want to try and simulate the exam as best you can. I love to personally, if you can afford it, print out the exam papers so they're printed in a booklet. They look exactly like the ones you're going to get on the exam day. It's just conditioning yourself to be comfortable when that goes in front of you. You started using TT revision method and it's much better, as I knew which topics you lost mark on. Basically, TT revision method lets you focus on your weaknesses, 100%. Is there a list of topics that come up most on TT for each subject? That is a great question. It's something we're working on in the background. We're going to look at what sort of things would you like to know. As a student, I want to know how often does that question come up? So the frequency. I want to know when it comes up, how many marks is it as a proportion of the paper? And basically, we're going to do a statistical analysis of the papers and share with our students, give each topic basically a priority score for how frequently and how many marks a question comes up. So for example, in maths, trigonometry, 100% essential. I know the large data set question for one of the exam boards in A-level maths, basically it's worth 2 marks. Screw it. If you don't revise that, it doesn't really matter. So focus on what's important. Study smart, right? There's no point doing more work than you have to, really. The best time to start doing past papers, basically now. Are you, Maya, are you year 12 or year 13? Yeah, avoiding overload is a massive part of A-levels. Sort of time management, making sure that you're working in a way that's sustainable is very important. Because you can't work hard all the time. It's not feasible. We're not machines. They're asking me if there's any good websites for end of topic tests. Can you have one guess as what I might say? Tens, have you tried TT? Because there's a free trial. If you haven't tried it, then if your test is in a week's time, you get a week's free trial. That's exactly what you need to do. Okay, so Maya, my advice to year 12s, you're going to have to do topic-based questions right now because you've only done a few topics. As soon as you can, February half term or a bit before that, start doing some AS papers. Just cross out the questions on the topics that you haven't done at that point. Callie, tailoredtutors.co.uk, I can probably find a link for you right now and I can just send you over there. In fact, I could just give you a quick, can I give you a quick screen share? I don't know that I can. But it's very self-explanatory from our website. You will be, where's the chat gone? No, that's it. You can just find it. If you can't find it on there, then you've got no hope in doing any of your A-levels. It's super obvious where the free trial link is in there. The length of breaks between blocks. The reason why I like action hours over Pomodoro, it's the same method, Toby, as Pomodoro, basically. You're setting yourself a clear goal and you have deep focus for that time. Pomodoro is 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break to make up the half hour. I found when I was using Pomodoro at university, my 5 minute breaks, I couldn't even really make a cup of tea in 5 minutes, to be honest. You go to the toilet, make a cup of tea, that's it. I didn't find the break was long enough. And you can tweak it. You could do 40 minutes, 20 minutes. You could do 50 minutes, 10 minutes. You can kind of tweak it however you want. But 45 minutes gives you a 15-minute break, which means you can actually have a little bit of separation. You can get away from your desk. You can do something. I would not recommend watching television or using screen time too much in those breaks if you really want optimal concentration. Yeah, what happened with me is that my 25 minutes Pomodoro, I would then have a 10, 15-minute break anyway, and then I do 25 minutes work and then have a 10, 15-minute break. So my ratio of work to break time actually ended up being more than doing a 45-minute session working and then 15 minutes. That means you're working 3/4 of the time, which is a pretty good ratio. You can tweak that to find whatever works best for you. And maybe as you get towards exams, you might want to increase that. But I wouldn't recommend going much beyond an hour, because you might be fine for the first hour. You might be okay for the second hour. But by the end of the day, you're probably not getting much productivity out of your study sessions, those action hours anymore. Okay, I'm a bit behind on the chat here. The mark schemes, they just list 6 keywords, for example. Is it okay just to list keywords of the exam, or do you have to write long, detailed sentences? I'm speaking about A-level biology in this response. I'm assuming you're asking me about A-level biology. So if not, then you can't just write literally the key term. But if you use my CARBS question analysis, command word and marks, actual topic of the question, review the key terms, bullet point your answers, and then self-check. So CARBS is my acronym for that. Then bullet pointing the answers with the relevant key terms in it. You want a short sentence, 5 to 10 words per sentence, full stop. You're trying to mimic those mark schemes. But just the key term, if you write DNA helicase, breaks hydrogen bonds, like complementary base pairing, like you have to give it a little bit more narrative than that. But that's what you're kind of aiming at towards the end. Where are the required practical videos? Inside the course. I'm assuming, again, I'm assuming you're talking about biology, and I'm assuming you're talking about within my course that I've written for the A-level biology. So there's a section or a topic called AS practical skills for the required skill practicals for that, and the A-level practical skills. I'll come back to neutral in just a minute. Let me see if I can just screen share that. I'll have to just pull up an appropriate window for you. Let's do it. Which exam board are you? Oh, screw it, actually, Johnny. By the time you've given me the answer to that, will have taken too long. So I'm just going to plug my Mac in so it doesn't run out of juice on me. And I'm just going to pull up the chat. That one can go. I'm going to pull up the chat and move it onto this monitor. So if I'm not looking at you for a little minute, apologies there. I'm just pulling up the right page so I can show you. What does neutral mark schemes mean, Gibran? It basically means it's not a negative, but you won't get a mark for it. So it's like relevant, but not relevant enough to get a mark, essentially. Do you revise content? I mean, Maya, the most time-efficient way of studying is to do the questions first. That is going to expose yourself to some things you don't know. But if you do a question and you do know it, then you don't have to revise the content. Does that make sense? In that it's very... if you revise the content first and you're already good at it, it feels nice, but that's time wasted, basically. Why bother relearning something that you already know? So it's best to start with the questions. If you get it right, move on to other questions. If you get it wrong, go back and then check, basically fill in your content gaps. That's the whole point of the TT revision method. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen quickly, if I can find the Zoom window, which is hidden beautifully behind something. Oh, okay, I can maybe do it in here, but the quality is not going to be quite so good. But let's try this and see what you see, to be honest. No change by the looks of things. Oh, yeah, no, there we go. Just a bit of a delay. Oh, and I'm in the corner too. I'm just going to make sure that YouTube's caught up with us. It has. Okay, great. So this is the AQA Content Guide overview. So you've got all the live classes here. If you're new to TT, that's where the live classes are. So you can join me Thursday, 6 o'clock for biology. Statistics skills are there, so you just check out these on the side. You can obviously, like, it's a new little feature we added last week. You can collapse the sidebar. So the AS practical skills, you've got all the 6 AQA required practicals for AS, and you've got all the 6 practical skills for the A level there. And if you want, you've obviously got the AS topic shortcuts here. So if you see practical skills, it'll jump you down. You can look at the AS practical skills from there as well. So there's loads of different ways you can find it. Yeah, essentially, that is what that is. So I'm just going to come back to Zoom. Again, it's going to... I can come back to my... What's this? Oh, it's a different camera. Let's choose this camera instead, shall we? Yeah. Okay. Let's come back to the chat so I can see what you're saying. Megan's one of our brand ambassadors. She's got some excellent advice. Megan, you're applying to do medicine, is that right? So she's really knowledgeable about that, and yeah, super. She asked me lots of questions in the course and comes to all my live classes, so I have a pretty good handle on. Megan's a model student, I'd say, Megan. You love the addition to the sidebar hiding. Yeah, it's a nice little feature. Okay, we're Crazy T. We are actually updating the way we basically complete lessons. We're going to basically come back and ask me that question in a week or two. We're putting out some pretty major changes right now through the course and the completion percentage. Basically, my message to you is update your traffic light. Don't worry about the completion percentage. We're going to display your traffic lights in a whole new way coming up very soon, which is going to show you your percentage of how many traffic lights you've completed, whether they're red, they're amber, they're green, or whether they're incomplete. So use your traffic lights, update those in the content guide and in the exam guide, because there's some really exciting stuff coming in the exam guide to show you which questions you've done well on, which questions you've not done so well on. So yeah, basically no completion button anymore. It's going to be traffic light only. Okay, so I've done half an hour already. Any other questions about common mistakes or advice about how to avoid making those common mistakes? Yeah, basically all of the AS content will be or can be in the A-level exam. So if you're a year 13 student and you know that you have a few sketchy areas in the AS, that's not going to go away. That is going to come back and bite you at some point. You're going to have to learn it, and your choice is now, do you do it a little bit ahead of time, or do you wait until the month before the exam when you've got a million other things also to learn for all your subjects and then try and catch up with it then? So I'd highly recommend just doing the TT revision method on an AS paper once a month between now and February. And well, how long is that? We've got November, December, January, February. If you do 4 AS papers, that's a paper 1, a paper 2, a paper 1, a paper 2. If you can do that between now and February and you do the full cycle of TT revision method, you will be in such a happier spot going into your final phase of revision for year 13 than anyone else. Well, I don't know what is. You threw your AS notes away. Yeah, that is a problem right there. Well, the good news is, username, you can cover the entire AS spec for biology in about 20 hours of video with TT. So it's a big pain in the ass, but doing it from the textbook would probably take you 60 hours. So if you want to save yourself a whole bunch of time, you could probably crush that in a month if you wanted to. So a 1 month membership to TT, you could probably get all of your AS notes nicely tidied up. We have template notes for every single lesson, so you can print out the template notes and just crush them that way. Well, I think I've answered. If I've missed any questions in the chat, feel free to repost them. I don't generally advocate just spamming the chat, but if I've missed them and I haven't answered it and you want to answer, put it in the chat now. I've got a few minutes before I move on to the next thing in my day. Yeah, it's really good stuff in the chat. I'm just going to reiterate those top 3 revision mistakes, essentially. So not starting past papers early enough. In other words, waiting to start past papers until you are ready to get your target grade. Big mistake. Past papers are there for training, and at the beginning of your training, your whole point of training is to get better, right? So you should start at a point where you accept you're not going to get the grade that you want in your past papers, and the whole point of doing them is to reach your target, to reach your goal, and the past papers are steps on the journey to get there. That is a major thing. So as soon as you can, start some past papers. And year 13s, remember, just do the AS papers now. You have done all of that. And if you don't remember it, then the sooner you realize which bits you don't remember, the better. Number 2, just making notes, wanting to revise topic by topic, making notes, copying out your notes, highlighting your notes. Notes are great. You need them in the learning phase. But in terms of revision, your notes you can go back to if you find a problem, go back and recap, summarize them, condense them. That's fine. But don't just get in a loop of writing out your notes once, then writing out your notes again, and then making them neater, and then tidying them up, and then highlighting them. This is not doing you any cognitive good, basically. You get little bits of gains from it. It's not useless, but it is not as useful as testing yourself, active recall, because copying out, you're using what's called your short-term sensory store and your short-term memory. You like, the cat went to the house. Like, you're 2 minutes later, you're not going to know. You're literally just photocopying at that point, and there's basically no benefit to you for doing that. Number 3 was setting a rigid, prescribed study timetable. I'm going to do this thing for this subject at this time. And then you schedule in your whole week. And then by the end of day 1 or by the end of week 1, you're behind. You're then feeling stress and pressure, which is not necessarily doing you any favors whatsoever. So it's much better to set off blocks of time for each subject, and then for each subject to have a list of action hours that you're going to do when it comes to study biology, chemistry, maths, photography, whatever that thing is. And then you can pick the most appropriate action hour, sit down, write out, I am going to. With those action hours, really important, you physically write out the thing that you are going to do. I don't know quite why this is the case. I have been using these for years. If I just think it, I'm going to do this thing. Somehow it doesn't, I'll often get distracted. If I write it down on a piece of paper, then it's like a mini contract with myself. I'm going to do this thing, and then I do it, and I find it way easy to keep on track. Use a timer, take away all other distractions, and you're good to go. Volunteering, I think it's always a good time to do volunteering, basically, in life, as well as when you've got something to do for like your UCAS applications or things like that. Okay, so Chrissy, I'd say your revision timetable, by all means, wait out your subjects. Do you need to do more work in one subject than the other? But just put in which subject you're going to do when you're going to be working, when you're not going to be working. Then for each of those subjects, have your action hour list of things to do when it's time to do biology. What do? You just go to your list. I'm going to do this particular action hour today. But don't say, I am going to, answer end of topic questions on proteins and enzymes at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. That's not a good strategy. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to, that's a great point, Megan. You don't want to be trying to cram in volunteering when you're doing revision, or it's better to get it in the bag and get practice with it, with any extracurricular stuff like that, so that you're relieving the pressure from crunch time, April, May, June, when it really counts. Anvin, instead of telling me you have questions, ask me the question. Please don't spam the chat if needs be. I try to catch every statement. If I miss it and it's gone off the screen, then by all means, throw the question at me again. Maya, what are action hours? So I've given a brief description. Do you have TT? You have a TT membership or free trial, Maya? Just let me know the answer to that first. Yeah, Serena, biology essay. I've written a whole topic or section of the AQA exam guide on the AQA essay question. How to plan it, how to mark it, how to write it, linking paragraphs to the theme of the essay. It's all in the exam guide. So I won't go over it right now because it's only relevant to a few people, but check out the exam guide for AQA and it's in there. Then I'd say check out the free trial and all the action hour stuff again in the exam guide. Maybe I can just maybe show you where to find it once you've got your free trial set up. Okay, so it's under the section called revision technique. Again, I'm just going to come back here and show you inside the course. So I'm now in the exam guide. So we have 2 courses for each subject. There's the content guide, which is going to train you on the content, and then the exam guide, which is going to show you how to revise and basically structure your time for the exam. So this is, in fact, there you go. Who was asking me about the essay question? This is the AQA exam guide. There's the essay question. You can see all those lessons on it right there. So a whole bunch of stuff there. In the revision technique, which is kind of what we're talking about here, there's a whole bunch of information on action hours in here. And on, in fact, the documents and downloads, we have documents to help you with your action hours. So we have these action hour cards. In fact, what I can do is open these up. I can share this with you on YouTube just because I'm feeling kind of nice today. Let me come back to Zoom if I can and stop my screen share. Oh no, that's not Zoom. Oh, because I'm not in Zoom. That's why I can't see it. And then I'm going to have to switch back to my nice camera again. Okay, so in the chat here, I can send you these. That is our action hour template card. So you can print those out and create your action hours. Quite self-explanatory. Okay. Yep. TT covers AQA, OCR A, and EdXL A, or alternatively, EdXL A is called the SNAB, the Salters-Nuffield Advanced Biology. All just different names for the same thing. What is the best website for Year 9 cell structure? Anvin, we don't do GCSE or anything pre-GCSE, and please don't spam the chat again or I shall block you. Just one question, I will see it, I promise. If it goes off the screen and I haven't answered it, then feel free to paste it in again. But yeah, to be honest, I don't know any suggestions. Let's open that out to the TT community. Anyone have any good Year 9? So that's pre-GCSE. I know some GCSE study resources. But for Year 9, I don't even know what's Key Stage 2, right? Yeah, the Free Science Lessons guy, the guy in the suit, he definitely, I thought he was only GCSE. Again, I don't know about sort of Key Stage. I don't even know what the Key Stages are anymore because I'm an A-level specialist these days. Primrose, yeah, so is it Primrose Kitten? YouTube channel again? Yeah, Physics and Maths Tutor. Again, I thought Physics and Maths Tutor was only GCSE and A-level. I might be wrong with that. I don't tend to. I mean, it's so out of my realm. I haven't done Year 9 stuff since I was a tutor nearly 10 years ago. Suggest doing before every A-level biology exam. Are you talking, TJ? Are you talking like immediately before the exam, like the morning of? Topic exam. So you're not talking about the real exam because the real exams are not topic exams. Just before the exam, great advice is don't go to bed too late because, as I said, in my exam guide, I do 3 videos for every single question for all the different exam boards. So I frequently am like a normal human being. I'm quite often cutting it quite late towards the deadline of when we're going to release these videos. So I'm working really hard and I'm doing late nights and I'm trying to cram these things in. And it's so noticeable when I'm doing a paper and it's 10 p.m. and I've done a full work day and I'm doing the paper at the end of the work day, how many mistakes I make. I might drop 3, 4, 5, 6 marks on a paper because I'm tired. 6 marks on one paper that's nearly a grade across all 3 papers, let alone on one paper. If you drop 6 marks on each paper, That's 18 marks. That is a massive amount. To gain 18 marks is a whole bunch of study. So if you can avoid dropping 18 marks by not being tired and getting a decent night's sleep the night before the exam, that is gold right there. So you might feel like you don't know anything and you're way behind the times. I'm not going to lie, occasionally you'll spend all night revising and you'll revise a topic that comes up in a giant question and you gain an extra 4 or 5 marks. But that is once in a while. Like, it's only happened to me once that in my entire life, and I've done quite a lot of overnight cramming when I was a student. I can tell you, 9 times out of 10 does not pay off. So play the odds, get a good night's sleep. The day before the exam, you should be focusing on what you know, the things that you have done. Go into your FFS journal if you know what that is. That's the TT revision method. Just see if you can make sure those mistakes are fresh in your mind so you can self-check them in the exam. And get up, hydrate yourself, have a good morning routine, go into that exam feeling confident and just go smash it. And yeah, it's kind of, you're only going to stress yourself out by trying to cover new content and revise new content at the 11th hour just before the exam. What did I get in GCSE? I did GCSEs way before the 9 to 1 system. I don't even remember. 4 A stars, 3 A's and 2 B's I think I got at GCSE. But I wasn't a model student, let's say, back then. Yeah, lovely. Doing research into stuff that you're interested in. Mostly do it because you're interested in it. And then when you go on to pursue that as a career, then you've got things to talk about in interviews and things like that. Your sleep is majorly important. There's a great book called Why We Sleep. Anyone who's interested in that, fascinating about what we do in terms of memory consolidation. Is basically, that's a whole lot of, we do dreaming and information processing is done in our sleep. And if you're, just try it one day. Okay, if you're not convinced, try staying up pretty much all night and doing a paper when you're absolutely knackered. And then do another version, if that's a paper one, do a different paper one after a fresh night's sleep. Don't do any more revision in the meantime. Just do a fresh night's sleep, go into it, have your morning coffee, whatever you need to do, be there and be present and do another paper one. Just compare your marks. You will see how many FFSs you make in your tired paper versus your real paper in terms of the rested paper. Prove it to yourself. Do we have any basically the free trial is a week, so you can test it out for yourselves. There's quite a few 10% coupons floating around out there, so our brand ambassadors, so Megan, who's in there. Megan, if you want to share one of your social links, then you're welcome to do so. Megan has a discount code, so if you want to hit her up, then she can hook you up with a 10% code. I wasn't necessarily naughty. I just wasn't that motivated to work very hard. I'm kind of lucky. I have a brain for... was that a typo? I'm just going to hide that comment, Megan. I'm sure that maybe wasn't what you meant to say. You can type that again. Yeah, I was lucky that I have an excellent memory. I can remember things really well. I generally understand things fairly well, and once I've understood it, then I don't really need to revise it. I'll tell you a little secret here. I did exactly 0 hours revision for biology A level. My chemistry I was not getting an A, and I wanted to get an A, and my teacher told me that I couldn't get an A, which was probably deliberate on now that I look back at it. So I was crushing A level biology. I didn't have to revise. So I got my A in A level biology without doing any revision, and I just spent all my time revising chemistry. I just did double chemistry revision. That's what I was saying in terms of dividing up your revision timetable. For me, I knew I was going to get an A in biology. Basically, in all the past papers, I was killing it, didn't have to worry. So I put all my focus on chemistry, and I got something like 90% in the final chemistry exam. Okay, I've been here for 50 minutes already, so I feel like I have done plenty. There you go. What does guarantee good grades, Megan? You've got to use it. People often sort of get a TT membership and they'll come back to us after 3 months and say, my grades haven't improved, and I'll check. And they've logged in 3 times in 3 months. It's like, it's not a pill that you can swallow that's going to instantly make you better at biology, chemistry, or maths. You have to do some work. I'm not going to pretend that it's any other way. Doesn't guarantee good grades. And then this is your final warning. If you spam the chat again, you'll be blocked from the channel forever. Okay. Bye. Yeah, don't worry. They're gone. Okay, so have a lovely day. To my students, then you are welcome to ask me any questions. I'm just about to log on and answer my questions in the course. So if you've got any A-level biology questions that are burning you up inside right now, throw them to me inside the course, and I will, I'll answer them within the next couple of hours. Have a lovely evening, and I'll see. In fact, biology little updates on TT for members. There are no live classes this week. We're just taking a scheduled break for a week. Everything will resume as normal a week next week, basically. Yeah, have a wonderful day. I hope that was useful. And feel free to share those top tips with anyone else out there. Anyone wants those action hour cards, I think it's still in my clipboard, so you can have that one again. Peace out. If I can find the end live screen. In fact, let me get the studio up. Otherwise, I'll be staring at myself like someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And it's probably fairly true because I don't use the YouTube studio as much as I should do. Okay, now it's not loading for me. What happens if I do? Oh, there it is. I have it open over here. And we'll come over to here and we'll go